Well, turns out I have an extra day here. Maybe a day and a half. Crazy. So unfortunately, 'cause I really wanted to have our new friends back over again. I guess I'll have to wait till I get back from the coast again, because as soon as I leave here, it's going to be full on. People coming on board and going home with fish. So, what am I going to do today? Sometimes being stubborn sure can work against you, right? I bought 100 and some odd fence posts, and I bought the hand digger. Bam, you know. I'm going at it. My neighbor drove by. He says, "I got an auger, you know," and I'm like, "I got this." I don't know why. I just have a tough time accepting favors. It's just, I'm my worst enemy. Meanwhile, and there's nothing but river rock coming up and getting hit. I'm beating the shit out of myself. But anyways, finally learned my lesson. I think I got about 40 something posts in, and I'm gonna give in and go buy my own auger. Whole post hole digger in a bit after I do this. And get that done. And I gotta get the, Sarah's finally agrees that the chickens need to be penned up after spraying chicken shit off of her back deck nonstop. And I tried to edit up the audio. I had the audio recorder and the camcorder videoing when I had the ladies over. Got that stupid rooster in the background. I got the goats running on the deck, chickens in the background, got the dog panting in the background. The background sound is frickin' brutal. And it's a long edit, so that's it for the chickens, no more. What else can I ramble about? Because I've got my 2 full buckets of coffee in me. One more quick note for all. Like I've said before, I am only one of you. We are the people, and that's it. It goes no further for me. I'm just one of you. And I've had a handful of people coming at me from a few different directions, telling me to email someone back who's trying to get together. I don't know what they're trying to do. They're doing a Canadian Bigfoot conference or something, and they wanted me to attend. And just so you know, the second that I see my name on the same piece of paper or email as any name in any reality TV show or the so-called Bigfoot community, I'm out. I don't ever want to see my name associated with those people, ever, myself. That's how I stand on that. So, in the future, if anybody wants me to join up with any group, it's not gonna. It's just that has no interest to me at all. Whatever floats your boat, I wish you all success in whatever it is you're after. That is not me. I'm not associated. I have nothing in common with those people at all, and I never will. The only one time that I may attend anything, which I have in the past, is if it was to sit and have a public conversation with Dave Plias. That's about the only way you're going to get me into the public eye outside of this ever. All right? Thanks for the invites, but no thanks. I am not one of those people, and I will never be associated with those people ever. I'm one of the people. I'm one of you, and that's what the focus is about. There's no celebrating one freaking person when it comes to this topic. It's all about us. That's where it gets lost. Celebrity status makes me puke. Anyway, sorry about that little ramble. I'm gonna bite my lip. Please stop. Don't email me, anyone, with anything that has anything to do with anyone who's in the so-called Squatch community and or reality TV shows. Any of those names and my name do not go together ever. All right? That's the guarantee that the email is not going to get fully read. I have no interest. All right, I'll stop there. Sorry I could babble. That has been the source of the main problem when it comes to this topic and more, as far as I'm concerned. Now, getting back to what's important is the voices of the people. I'm going to kill that frickin' rooster, man. Okay, listen to this. This is titled 4 Separate Experiences. Steve, I'm not military or medical personnel, have been an intuitive person from a very young age, so here are my stories. I was in my 20s and traveling from Wahpeton, North Dakota, going to Sisseton, South Dakota with a friend. As we entered South Dakota, I was in my own world looking out the window. I was looking at an open field with huge straw/hay bales. I saw someone sitting on the bale. I didn't think anything of it until we arrived at my friend's relative's place on the reservation. Then the image ran through my head that there was something off about that moment. That person was a very large and red/brown and was hairy from head to toe. I shared what I saw with my friends, relatives, and they all stopped and started talking in Lakota. My friend said that the natives there didn't talk about them. Next experience. I worked for a Native American boarding school and I chaperoned a trip to a place near Sisseton, South Dakota at Sika Hollow Park. This trip was during the day. At this park there was an area of thick bush with a trail. Some of the students went on this trail and quickly came back out scared. Curiosity got the best of me. I asked the other two chaperones if they wanted to go with me on this trail. They were from Sisseton and quickly said no. I took off by myself and I've been walking for about what seemed like 5 minutes and felt something watching me. The further I traveled along this trail, no more hair on my body started standing up. Then the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I stopped and turned around and at a quick pace. Everything inside me was screaming, "Run." I just knew that I shouldn't run, but moved down the trail quickly. When I came home out of the bush, I can say I was shaking up. Third experience, I moved to Washington State, Olympic Peninsula. I became friends with a wonderful couple who live on a beautiful piece of land. One afternoon, my female friend wanted to take me around her backyard forest/swamp area. She hadn't told me anything about the activity on her land. We started walking on a trail, and I felt someone watching me from ahead of us. I stopped and looked further up and saw a young Sasquatch looking at me. They looked like an Ewok from Star Wars, only much bigger. I started after it and they disappeared. I spun around and asked her if she saw what I saw, and she said no. Later that evening, her husband heard slaps on the side of the house. Fourth and last experience. I've now moved from Washington back to North Dakota on the Standing Rock Indian Reservation. It was before dawn and I checked my school bus. Yes, I am a school bus driver, out on my route. My route runs 20 minutes south along the South Dakota border. I turned on the state line gravel road. My first stop and my pickup was 3 miles down. The sun was up now. I pulled up to my student's house and usually their large German Shepherd would come off the deck up to the bus. The dog started to come down the stairs and spun around looking towards the hillside north of the house and ran back up the stairs and cowered in the doorway. I looked in the direction of the hill slope and saw a person walking down the slope in a sauntering way. I didn't think anything of it. Started backing out of the driveway. As I'm traveling, and again like the first shared experience, for some reason looked in my side mirror and the person was large and wearing a reddish-brown hairy coat. I thought it was interesting. They were all hairy. I didn't think anything about the experience until my coworkers were talking about sightings of what the natives call them, is the old man. I told coworkers my experience and they all started talking in Lakota and were surprised that I had seen him. I've learned from my coworkers that when out in this area they do a few things. If you hear old man and shoot a deer, to leave the backstrap for him. That the old man is sacred and you do not hunt him. Bad things happen to those that do. Thank you, Steve, for starting a platform for us out here to share our stories. I have more that I will share later. Stay safe and blessed to you and yours, and you too. And thank you so much for that email, and I'm absolutely looking forward to more from you, all right? Make sure you do. Make sure you do, and if you can, get more people from that community, your community, to email us in as well, all right? It's very, very important. To me anyway, I'm sure many others. Let's keep going down the line, more people. God, I've been hearing some shit lately that's just got me on fire this morning. The things that are going on, sorry for the little interruption, but I gotta say something, man. The shit that's going on, I've had many people email me telling me that basically we are in a war, some sort of spiritual war, which I believe is true at this point of the game. There can't be any other excuse for it. It's just, insane. It's insane what has been going on this last couple of years on all levels. So many different categories. It's upsetting. It's ridiculous. It's insanity. Just one of those easy examples the other day, a friend of mine, we're talking to my neighbor as he's watching me bust my back, pounding holes in the ground. He's got a few teenage kids. A couple of his kids got a job here for the summer, working for the parks, and they're something to do with mountain biking. And they do a little first aid course, and then they had to stand there and all hold up 30 different cards which represent 30 different genders or some damn thing that the children must memorize before they carry on. I don't know who's instigated this insanity, who's supporting it, why and how. I don't understand. Apparently there's just some, I can keep on going on and on about it, and the multiple examples of insanity and the assault on the children. And I don't understand it, and it frustrates me because I want to stop it with all I got. And I don't know what to say right now. I'm sure you're all very aware of what's going on today in the world today on various topics, but I think there is most definitely some kind of war on humanity going on. It's upsetting, it's frustrating. It's amazing how far the population can be pushed. It's amazing how far the population is being pushed today without popping. Is it gonna pop eventually? I think it must, right? I think it's gonna have to pop. Anyway, we gotta start protecting the children. That's where the change starts, and that's why the children are being assaulted. I call it being assaulted because they are being assaulted. They are being misled, groomed for something. I don't know what the end result is, but they are being misled and groomed in a big way, and it's got to be stopped. That's adults, whatever. But the children, that's where all the change starts, and they're trying to change for the worse, and they're using the children, and it's got to stop. Sorry for that little rant. I could go into it more in depth, but let's get back to sharing the voices of the people. And I think I keep trying to go on the Rumble channel. I'm way overdue. I got a lot to say. But we got to start protecting the children from the insanity. You have to. All right. UK and Sasquatch is the title of this one. Hi Steve, my name is Gary Thomas Miller. I write to you in honesty. I have not had an encounter with one of these beings. I've lived and worked my entire life in the outdoors. I'm an accomplished outdoors man. I spent months living in the forest in all seasons with a base camp fire as my only sense of home. I learned the living teaching people outdoor living skills, bushcraft, survival, tracking, archery, to name but a few. I grew up in a semi-rural part of Hampshire, which is situated in the south of the UK. The nearest woodland in my home was the forest of Beare, B-E-R-E, a place I would cycle to regularly just so I could escape the bullying culture that was home. I would have been about 14 years young when I would go to the forest to build shelters and climb trees on my own. Not too many people came to the forest back then, just the odd dog walker or horse rider. The vegetation was so thick, I would sit and watch the passerby totally unseen. I loved it, being the watcher. I'd sit at the base of the tallest tree and just relax, close my eyes and listen. When I opened my eyes, on many occasions, small birds would hop within inches of me, look at me and not be scared off by my presence. I believe it's because I became in tune with the natural world. In my learning of the art of tracking, this became known as a sit spot. So here's the reason I'm now writing to you. I've been watching your hunt stories on your YouTube for a while. You then spoke of your grandfather's encounter and then your own encounter. Your reasoning for speaking out about this topic was nothing short of heartwarming. Now I bought your book. Fudge me silly. I start reading page 55, and at the bottom of the page it is entitled, Even in England, the Forest of Fudging Beare. I was shocked, not only by the location, but the name of the person who submitted their encounter story, Catherine. I instantly recalled a friend of mine, whom I knew as Kate, telling me of a horrifying experience involving something massive outside the car she was in one night near Denmead. Then it all flooded back to me. I then started to recall the time I stayed in the forest till dark, just so I could have a small fire and to be that naughty 14-year-old. I made a fire, a small one. I sat watching the flickering of light and the foliage about me. Suddenly, I had a feeling of being in big trouble, like I had just been summoned to the headmaster art school. Gut-wrenching feeling. Started feeling sick, dizzy, and disoriented. My next realization is that I am now cycling as fast as I can down the road I live towards my parents' home. Streetlights and familiar homes all around me. Steve, the forest of Beard is 3 miles away, and I was in the deepest part of it. I have no memory of getting out of the forest, let alone the cycle home. You could say that I panicked because I lit a fire where I wasn't allowed to, or make of it what you will. In some of your most recent videos, there's been naysayers about Sasquatch in the UK. All I can say is, never rule out what you can't see. Just because it's not visible doesn't mean it isn't there. Can you see the air you breathe? No. Politicians exhale bullshit daily. Can you see it? No, but it's there. Steve, if you ever read this, feel free to use my name. Thank you for what you do, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. You're making a very positive change in this world, and I hope one day we all find the final puzzle piece. Please keep doing what you are. Please keep doing what you are brilliant at, and stay safe. Sincerely, Gary. Gary, appreciate your words, man. I'm glad you recognize that, and the name is a little random, isn't it? Coincidence? Not a bad thing. And yeah, the politicians, from what I understand too, side note, from my investigations, what I'm learning and watching, the British politicians' politics seems to be one of the top when it comes to corrupt and evil in this planet today. And we'll leave that at that. Here comes one of the shittins. I got 5 rat traps over there. I better do something to avoid this tragic scene as quick before it happens. Be back in a second. All right. Imagine if one of the little shittins got cracked in one of the rat traps here right now. Sarah would lose her shit. Anyway, moving along. Thanks again for that email, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. So it's titled Sasquatch. Hello, Steve. I live in Washington State, and I've been encountering the Sasquatch beings for the last 2 years here at home. I live on a creek, a rural area about 10 minutes away from a town. And I'm so glad you're helping people like myself and others who have had encounters. I sent you photos of the Sasquatch beings and told you about the beings here. I've had the beings yell, scream, growl, and zap me. They like to watch me play with my dogs. They watch me while I garden. A neighbor and I had an encounter once while together down at the creek side. I have many photos of the Sasquatch and their prints. I've tried telling my neighbors about the Sasquatch beings. Some believe, others don't. Even after I showed them my photos, I think people are afraid to believe in the Sasquatch beings. I had a huge male Sasquatch come and look in my window here at home. He had to be 10 feet tall as he had to duck down to look in the window. He had gray hair mixed in with dark hair on his cheeks. He had gray skin, wrinkles, and beautiful brown eyes that looked human. He had expression in his eyes that looked like concern. My guess he was... Come here, you little shit. My guess he was concerned with how I was going to be with seeing him. I was 15 feet away from the window he was looking in. I had a clear string of lights hanging outside under the cedars by home, so this helped light up his face. He stood at the window for about 2 minutes, give or take. I know you have seen the beings and know all the feelings that overcome you when you first see them. I have to live with them and get along with them. My husband has seen them. He's smelled them once, I've smelled them 3 times. I don't want fame or money from telling my story. I just want to inform people about the beings and let them know they're not alone. I recommend for those who have seen them, share your story. I don't want my name used as I don't want people coming to my area to bother the Sasquatch beings here. You can use Lenny for sharing. If you want to ask me any questions, please ask. I've told my story to David Plattis and some of my photos. I've reached out to other big names in the Bigfoot world, but I'm disappointed in getting any help from them. I hope we get to the bottom of who, what, and where the Sasquatch beings came from. I believe the people who are in charge of this information about the beings know all the answers. I'm not crazy, not seeing things that are not there. I hope the truth will come out. Thank you for your help for the people who need to share the stories truthfully. All right. Appreciate your email. It sounds like you've got a lot of experiences. Thank God you're not suffering PTSD from it and they haven't intentionally terrified you, right? And reaching out to what many people call the big names in the Sasquatch community, that's obviously a waste of time. Proven. Not being insulting is fact. If you looked at it in a business point of view. Okay, how long have you been in business and how much success have you had? 0? Okay, thanks, moving along. Right? That's how I look at it. Pass the bullshit, move forward. And don't waste any time. And the only answers you're going to get is going to be from the people. That's the only place is where you're going to get the truth, the powerful truth, the blatant, blunt, bullshit-free truth is from the people. It's the only place. If there's any way, if you do live near First Nations community, I suggest you go treat them with respect and speak with them in an honest tone and ask for any kind of assistance you can from the elders. As far as I'm concerned, that is well where you are going to get some very helpful information at this point in the game. So it's the people and the First Nations elders, the elders in any continent. Okay? That's where it's going to come from right now until somebody who possibly may know more cracks and decides to share and decides that the people who keep their mouths shut are actually the enemy, which they are. Moving along. All right. Here's another one. Mark, this is titled Sky Camp Sighting. Steve, I'm sorry for my intro and my last share. You seem either perplexed or thinking, is this guy stupid? While staring into the camera. I was just excited to get my story shared to people that would be able to hopefully relate. Again, like many others, I appreciate you. This experience happened to me in high school, I would guess in 2001-02 school year. This took place at Sky Camp in Fall Creek, Oregon. This building is amazing. Downstairs in the center of the building there's a giant fire pit with a vent/chimney thing. The kitchen is down there and multiple lunchroom type picnic tables. Upstairs all around were bunks and doors leading to above ground porches. One of the nights I went out while almost everyone was sleeping, I couldn't sleep and decided to go sit out there and have a cigarette and enjoy the calm, cool, moon and star-filled night. So, I'm just staring out in the field and tree line and noticed something rubbing up and down on a big tree. I thought a bear scratching its back, but then realized that bears don't live in that area. There are cougars, but I've never seen a cougar standing up on its hind legs, and I don't think they do. So, I'm sitting there dumbfounded, thinking I get this experience again, though I'm further away this time. I shone my flashlight in the direction and noticed that it looked similar to what I saw on numerous occasions, and the one that stuck with me from White Creek in my previous share is an eerily beautiful sight. I'm serious. I caught those yellow eyes in the light, and within a split second it looked right into my eyes and it booked it across the football-sized field, just swinging those oblong arms back and forth. Long dark hair, just flowing as it's running. The way the moon hit it, showing this big built muscular 7-8 foot at least frame. It left me in awe, wishing I had someone with me to see what I saw. I tell you, when it reached the other side of the field in what seemed like minutes, because I was in awe, I heard this voice in my head that said, Wapida. I had no idea what that was until I woke up later that day and asked if anyone knew what that word meant. I was told from a friend that it meant thank you in Sioux language. This made me smile. I felt accepted by this being. Anyway, appreciate you, Steve. You're an amazing human being. Keep on keeping on, my man. Take care and stay safe. Did you say I could use your name? Sorry. I always get mixed up sometimes. Tom Sweely from Eugene, Oregon. P.S. The last share, Oregon is not Boregon. It was only one being that I saw and said they, not thinking gender. I just wanted to clear that up. I wasn't sure if it was make or female, male or female, hence saying they. I kind of remember the title, but I don't remember thinking anyone's stupid, that's for sure, Tom. And the gender thing, that's not going to be a topic on this page ever. But thank you so much for sending that email in, man. I'm glad you had a positive encounter. I'm really glad you had a positive encounter. That's a good thing. It's weird. It's not that often that we hear of them speaking out in a clear, known native language. It's not that often, right? Bam. Let's get another one going. My Dad's Encounter, Deep Woods, Maine is the title of this one. Hi Stephen, I'm following your YouTube channel as you're living the dream while many of us remain keyboard bound. It's all a choice, my man. It's all a choice. Gratefully, you've taken the time to relay people's experiences around Sasquatch. Hearing you tell them brings me back to what fun it was to hear my father relate his encounter. He's a serious person, not full of shit, and very well versed in animal behavior and physiology. His story never failed to cause my hair to stand on end. With that, I'll pass along Dad's experience in 1970 up in the Baxter State Forest of deep northern Maine. Keep up the great work. Feel free to use any of her names. I'm sure in all kinds of government lists. I'm sure I'm on all kinds of government lists now anyway. John Hubbard. Right there with you, bro. Right there with you, man. All right. We're camped south of Long Pond in the Trout Brook Mountain Quad of Baxter State Park. We were walking south from the southern shore of Long Pond toward the elevation of Billfish Mountain. Baxter State Park contains Mount Katadin, K-A-T-A-H-D-I-N. I'm having one of those mornings, obviously. I'm a PhD environmental physiologist working for Natick Labs in Massachusetts. In the fall of 1970, I was hunting on the east side of the lake, Long Pond, in Baxter State Forest with Danny Wolf, a vet now in Ohio, a friend of mine, a friend from Montana, deceased, and another vet. One morning I hunted alone south of the lake when I encountered a strange, musky smell in the woods, along with a foot-long black scat that looked human, except for the extraordinary thickness and width. I also observed a small scat that looked like a large pile of baby feces with white and yellow texture. As I proceeded on, I was confronted with the sound of thumping like a partridge on steroids drumming. The ground actually shook. The hair on my neck was raised and the pit of my stomach seemed suddenly queasy as the rotten smell got worse. Suddenly, a large dead tree came crashing down about 100 yards in front of me. This scared the shit out of me. As the woods were getting quiet, no wind, no birds, etc. I returned to camp, was severely guffawed by the two vets, Dr. Heisel and Dr. Wolf. Dr. Wolf, however, agreed to accompany me the next day. We went further into the swampy woods, saw yesterday's scat, and Danny said, whatever it was, it had to be big to push that dead tree down. We continued until the area became quite rocky, with boulders larger than our heads on all sides. Danny said this doesn't look like a good place to be because something could jump us before we could react. It's an odd feeling. I've never thought that way. Being out in the woods, it's an odd feeling. Suddenly we encountered the drumming and the ground shaking again. This was followed by a huge rock which flew over our heads and impacted on a hillside to our left. Needless to say, we were both speechless, and Danny said whatever could throw a 50-pound rock 50 yards was not something he could care to encounter. Even though Danny had a 7mm mag and I had a .270, we both agreed to leave. It was quite evident that whatever we had pissed off was clearly warning us not to go further. We returned to camp, and my two friends became believers. The hunt was a failure because there were no signs of deer or even moose in the area. We've enjoyed retelling the story to our kids and our friends over the years because none of us had ever experienced anything like it in years of hunting in Michigan, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Montana, or Colorado. It was the scariest thing I've ever encountered in my hunting career. I shot elk in Colorado, and this year my wife and I shot over 50 pheasants and 5 deer. I'm on the board of advisors of the Uxbridge Rod and Gun Club. And as the Army's former expert on desert survival and heat stroke physiology, editorial board of Wilderness and Environmental Medicine. I wrote the survival manual for Desert Storm and Desert Shield. I've published over 200 scientific papers, abstracts, and book chapters. But this is the first time I've written about this strange encounter. I'm 65 and I have retired from Army Environmental Medicine as a lab director. The smell, the human-like monster scat, the baby scat, and the drumming, ground shaking, tree falling, and boulder throwing. Oh, this is a report submitted to that goofy group. All right. In closing, if you've read this, I appreciate it. I've come to think of you as a friend as you sound and act like most of my buddies. Nice to queue up your channel and listen while I work. All the best, John. Appreciate the share, John. It's an interesting one. It's a common one, right? It's a common one, man. The rock's being thrown. Everything your dad mentioned it's been experienced so many times. So many times. All right, what do we got? Let's keep going. This is titled Third Encounter. Dear Steve, is with trepidation that I write about this possible encounter. November 2017, my friend and I made a trip to my land in South Georgia to hunt white-tailed deer. He and I are both veterans, and we enjoyed hunting in my stand, which is about 6 by 6 and 8 feet off the ground, with a commanding view of my back field, about 20 acres. There are woods that bracket the field with a swamp covering a good portion of the south side of the field. During our afternoon hunt, my friend had the good fortune of shooting a good-sized doe on the southeastern side of the field about 250 yards away. We waited until the last light to get down and retrieve his kill. After he had loaded up the doe in his truck, we were chatting about the land and how special this part of my property is and some of the strange happenings. When my friend nodded his head towards the north part of the fields and said, "Do you see that?" I looked and we both saw what resembled a predator-style form with light whisks around it moving effortlessly across the field from west to east. It turned north towards the woods and then disappeared. As it moved, it looked like it was about 9 to 10 feet tall. It was just gliding and walking / running upright. You could see what looked like legs and arms, but you could sort of see through them. After listening to other people and their accounts concerning Sabe disappearing and just being there like a predator image cloaked, I'm thinking that it was a Sabe and is known to inhabit the woods here. Praying for you and all the people involved with the political situation in Canada and the US. May the peace of God be with you and Sarah and the kids. Sincerely, Mark D. McCall, PhD. Right? And to all the people listening, who wakes up in the morning and decides they're going to make that story up, right? When we were on the topic of bullshit being fed to the people yesterday, here's an example. I think I'm going to wake up this morning and I'm going to think up this story, and I'm going to go on my way to go online, find a YouTube channel, and find the email address and email it to the people and type it out. Because, well, that's what people do. Said no one ever, right? And there we go, and there is an aspect of the sightings that the majority of the people who consider themselves experts and so-called big names in the community don't want to talk about and don't want you to hear about. Right? They just don't want to go there, and that's why they are still doing the same frickin' circle in the same piece of dirt they have been for the last 25 years, going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Because nobody wants to accept the details that are getting shared commonly non-stop. But we are, right? We are. What I would do to be able to have that skill, to be able to cloak myself and get shit done. And I'm no doubt they don't want us having that kind of knowledge, right? Let's keep going. Thanks again for sending that in, man. Absolutely appreciate you, and I 100% believe you. Sasquatch sighting in my backyard and another in my yard. I don't have any pictures or videos, I wish I was able to, but my cousin and I are very interested in Sasquatch. We've done hours of research, and I'm fortunate enough to live in northern Minnesota, which is a very common place for sightings. Anyway, last summer my cousin was at my house for the night. It was a Friday. My grandparents store their camper next to our house. So when he comes over, we spend the night in that so we don't have to be quiet. Well, there's multiple times we've heard noises near the camper. I'm convinced there's something out there. I've even attempted to convince my mother to get trail cams. But one night I went home to shower and he was working on bringing a few things to the camper. When I get out, I head outside to help him, and as I step out the door, I see him running full speed my way. And I stopped him. Like, hey, what happened? What's wrong? And he was white as a ghost. We like to joke with each other, like, hey, I saw it. But eventually we say we're messing around. But he couldn't get a word out and looked like he was going to pass out. So, jokingly, I slapped him to make him stop, and it didn't faze him. He finally spit it out that he saw a Sasquatch, and I instantly grabbed his arm and said, show me, take me to where? As we walk over, I saw his bag and stuff laying on the ground. I asked him again, are you messing with me? Still white as a ghost, shaking, he said, no, I saw it. And at that moment I thought, this is serious stuff, it's happening right now. We ran in, grabbed our shoes, we grabbed our binoculars, our knocking stick, and our phones. We don't have much gear, but it's what we got. He was terrified. He did not want to go back out there. I could hear the fear in his voice, but we walked over to where we saw it. The camper is parked between my house and my grandparents' shop. He started to tell me where he saw it, and it was right around the corner of the shop. He described exactly what I feel Bigfoot would be, peering around the corner with 4 fingers around the wall and half his head out. And then he saw it turn and ran. Previously he had heard footsteps. That's why he turned to look. So I walked over and set myself up to try to shape what he's talking about. And he said yes, but much taller. And we ran into the swampy woods behind our house and spent a few hours just watching and knocking. We never got anything, but it was around 9:30 and we started to head to the camper for the night and heard a faraway whoop. As we walked back, we stopped, watched for about 10 minutes, just looking, and nothing. And that was the end of the night. He still to this day believes he saw a Sasquatch. We plan to do much more searching this summer. Fall of 2021, when I was setting up Christmas lights, I was getting close to being done. One day I came home and half of the stuff was torn up. Cords were ripped. The yard... Sorry, there's some typos here. I came home and half of the stuff was torn up. The cords were ripped, the yard prices on the end of the house were torn up and laying around about 10 feet away from where they were deeply staked in the ground. The cords were all messed up and the outlet cover thing was ripped clean off the wall and broken. And the thing that got me is that the thing in the wall was nearly impossible to pull off. Could have been a bear, but I believe it was Sasquatch because of how it was ripped on the wall. There was no teeth marks or anything on it either. Alright, that was a little confusing, but I kind of get it. Christmas lights ripped up in a wall. You know what is common, anything with antlers in the rut, that commonly happens. So I don't know if you've got elk around there, but I imagine a big white-tailed buck could have done that too. But whatever, besides the point. Fact is, your cousin's seen one of these things in the backyard, and you guys went out and tried beating on trees. Trust me when I say this, beating on trees does absolutely nothing. If we listen to our elders, we listen to the people on average, the message has been, the knowledge shared has been, you just go out there and you talk to them. They know you're there, they know your intent, and they listen. And your words are powerful. Quote from our First Nations superhero women that were here recently. Our words are powerful. They hear our words. Beating on a tree is probably insulting to them at this point of the game, right? And beating on a tree hasn't done anything for a group of people who have been doing it for over 25 years. So, you really want to get in touch with these people, go out there, be innocent, be honest, sit down, and start thinking and speaking, and ask for a reply. I am a firm believer right now that that's going to get you some serious action, if that's what you want, but be careful what you ask for. And on that note, Remember, a lot of people have been talking about that man, I think in Florida, who had the experience where he was pinned and he lost his shit, and he probably, I don't think he's still the same today. I don't know him. I haven't kept up on him. I don't know where I would. But I don't think this man came out of it very well. But he had a terrifying experience, and what he quoted was saying, what he was told by these beings was that it's a game. They hunt us for challenge, for fun, and the more challenging the prey, meaning us, the better. The more smart, the more elusive, whatever it is. Let me say that one more time to get more clear. What it came down to was they hunt us, and the harder the prey, the higher the score, the better the trophy. Now, for me, I do not believe that at all. I believe the man's story. I believe he heard what he heard, all right? Don't get me wrong. Do I believe that there is a group of any flavor of being out there who is hunting us like they did in the movie Predator as a trophy hunt? And that the harder the trophy, the more valuable the trophy when it comes to hunting a human? Not a frickin' chance. There is nothing difficult about hunting a human being. Absolutely nothing. Humans are so easy, it's ridiculous. We have no sense of smell. 99% of us are not in tune with the sixth sense. We don't have claws and teeth. We can't run as fast as a deer. We are a nothing to hunt. I think possibly, if that was the case, then possibly the highly trained military special forces individuals, they might be considered a higher form of trophy when it comes to trophy hunting humans, if that was actually a thing. Possibly the tough trophy to acquire would be one of the top politicians in the world. That probably would be a little challenging, but if you could come and go and disappear at will, it would be nothing as well, right? So I thought about that the other day. I thought about just a simple human being out bashing on trees being considered a high-stakes trophy for a trophy hunter from another galaxy or plane. Not a frickin' chance. Nope. I believe whatever was manipulating that poor soul was just effing with his mind, with anything it could come up with, and inflicting terror and bullshit into that person's mind. That's what I believe went on there. And what it was doing it, I don't know. Do I want to know? No. I don't. Do I believe it was a Sasquatch? Not a chance. Nope. Anyway. I'm a little on edge today, I'm sure you could tell. I'm in one of those moods where I could fight, probably because I didn't get much sleep last night. It is what it is. And I know there's a handful of you that enjoy it when I get in these little moods. I kind of do too, in a way. Anyway, let's read one more. It's titled The Owl Man Replies. Hey Steve, thanks for what you do. A lot of things have been cleared up for me, but I also have a whole lot more questions now. All right, this will be the woman who emailed in asking for, I'm guessing, it was about the woman who had the dreams and needed advice from the Owl Man and more, and she received it. And this is her reply again. I sent an email to you back in April about a weird experience I had in New Mexico. I don't think you've read it yet. Anyway, I just watched the episode where you read the Owl Man's reply to the person who asked about attachment and dreams. All right, it's not that person. And I have a question for both you and the Owl Man. The Owl Man seems to have a whole lot of knowledge of these beings. He stated he sat out in the dark with his friend 3 nights a week for 3 years and communicated with these beings and described to us that the Sabe people communicated like someone with ADH. He stated that he himself had a lucid dream where a hairy hand appears and he asked permission to touch it. He explained that a female Sabe took him around and showed him how they lived. One thing that stood out about the conversation is that he said the Sabe women told him, "We are the same." This has been stated by other contributors that have had contact as well. But here's the burning question. What are they? How are we the same? It seems to me that this should be the #1 line of inquiry when anyone's talking to these beings. Everyone, including you, has been potentially waiting for Edgar to get back to us with that information. So if someone like the Owl Man has direct communication with these beings, then why didn't he ask? The door was open to him on that subject when the Sabe woman stated that we are the same. And I should point out also that after you read his comments, you didn't ask about this either, which is puzzling to me. Because after all, that is the one thing that we all want to know, the truth. What are they? I think finding out what they are will go a long way to explaining why the government wants to keep this knowledge a secret. And since the Owl Man communicated with these beings, there are other questions that should be asked, like, what happened to all the people that disappeared? Who took them? Can we get them back? What other beings are out there? And are we in danger? As I mentioned in my first email, I hope that I never have a frightening encounter with these beings. However, if I had the opportunity to communicate with them, I'd sure have a lot of questions, and I would not waste any time asking them to get right down to the truth. Thanks, Steve. You're a true patriot with a backbone, and the world needs a whole lot more honest men just like you who will stand up for what is right and not look back down the current criminal cartel that has a stranglehold in the world. If we were to get our freedom back, we have to take it back. And I'm ready, let's roll. It's so full in. Barb in communist-occupied California. Thanks, Barb. I'm replying to you from communist-held Canada at the time. Coincidentally, eh? Lots of questions. Excuse me. Lots of questions. What can I say to that? Who's responsible for making people disappear? Number one, I think one of our number one enemies is people, without a doubt. And from what I've been told, what I understand, there is also a risk coming from up there. And that's all I can say on that right now, because I do not intentionally investigate that. But people are, and that's what I've heard. What else? What are they? What are they? And I keep pushing on the people. I urge you to find out, what are we? What's our story? If we can get down to the bottom of our honest story, then everything will make sense, right? And again, when it comes to just the Sasquatch beings, which is right here, amongst many other topics we are trying to bust into, that have to be busted into, many people, including Edgar's colleagues, Dave Plaitis, and his contacts, acquired the DNA already. And it comes down to human female, unknown male. The majority of the people who handle the DNA leave it at unknown male, and from the studies that Edgar's colleagues have, it comes down to various animal DNA, and that is what they have told me. You know, I haven't been in contact with Edgar. Obviously I've been away, I've been busy, and I need to get an email out to his wife Karen again soon, get an update, and I need to get a hold of his colleague as well to see if he will send me directly the information he agreed to share with us. But you have to have respect for Edgar and his family, for what's going on. I don't know the status, but I know that the cancer is beating the shit out of him, right? So he doesn't need me nagging and harping on him to share whatever he has to share before something may happen to him, right? So we will receive what we receive from them in due time, and we'll appreciate it when we receive it, but I'm not going to hound that family at all as they're going through what they're going through, right? Anyway, I'm a little fired up. I got some shit I gotta get done. Yes, I have patience to a point with what's going on in our countries today, but I don't have much patience left. It's getting close to that time, I believe. And I would like to, if I could pass on any words right now, it would be mass, no, or non-compliance. Mass, no, or non-compliance. And I'll leave on those words. Pass them on.